Alright, what's up everybody? Doing my second video. That's just a continuation of the sensitivity and controller versus M&K video. Right now I'm on controller and I have the Steam configs on and I have my pretty much the settings that are going. And the point of this video is just to talk about how to get your ALCs, how you like them. And the reason that I had this experience was basically because, as I explained in my other video, I was trying to make mouse and key as much, controller as much like mouse and key as possible, and I ended up just kind of not getting the best out of my ALCs, out of my controller, out of my aim assist that I should have been. And right now I have them at a good place. And let me just show you what I was at before. I was at some pretty insane ALCs. They were like maxed out, 170 ADS pitch and yaw, no response curve, and like a small dead zone. So the main thing to understand is what dead zone and response curve do. Dead zone is like, you should know this by now, but if you don't, it's just like where your stick input starts and where it is not start, so you don't get stick drift. That was just said so poorly, but basically it stops your stick from drifting. And if you have a big dead zone, you're going to have less precision, but you are going to have a little bit of help with the aim assist, because the aim assist kicks in when you're not like fighting against the aim assist. However, when you have like your higher response curve, like if you have classic response curve, that's like a 10 or like 10 to 7. If you have that, then it effectively gives you a dead zone, but not in the same way. It just makes it so like your inputs that are close to the dead zone aren't that strong, and the inputs away from the dead zone are strong. So that ends up giving you a lot, like what people say, a lot of aim assist, because you're not fighting your aim assist. The aim assist is doing all the work for you. But I don't really like that, because you have like no precision. If you watch all the pros who all use 4-3-4-4 classic, when they're moving their controller, they move like this, because they have to move their stick far enough to get out of that like relaxed or low input zone that the response curve gives you. If you have a 0 response curve, then there is none of that. Basically, you're always having input, you're always having a high input no matter how close you are. So when I was learning how to use linear dead zone, I was able to get used to it and really get the benefit out of it, but it just took a lot of practice, and it kind of fights your aim assist a little bit. So like, again, if you do that all the time, it's gonna be fine, but if you don't play all the time, then it's not fine. And guess what? All the pros use classic response curve. So what's the best way to get the best out of your precision and your response curve? Well, for me, I found it to be this, the 5-1. I feel like that was perfect for me, because I still have that precision I want, but I don't have that like huge limited input that classic does. And basically I was able to find this out through like a lot of testing, obviously, and playing like control and stuff. But basically, when you play with the response curve, you can feel like a mid response curve or high response curve like classic. You can feel the aim assist a lot more. Like when you're tracking and someone is like moving side to side or whatever, you're tracking, you can feel it pulling towards it. On linear, you don't feel that at all. On linear, you don't feel it. It's pretty much all you, and the aim assist is just slowing down your input when it gets near. See, like, I'm not touching it at all. I'm not touching the stick at all. So that's what it does. But if you have linear, then you're doing most of the work. It's just slowed down. If you're on classic, the classic is doing the work for you. The problem is you're just like not as good at range. But if you have linear, you're really good at range. So this 5 response curve, I felt like gave me the benefit of having that like almost classic response curve where it does the work for you, but you still have that control. So this basically came out of me switching to mouse and key and trying to find a way that I could still consistently play on like a high control, you know, sensitivity like linear. But this is just much more manageable. And what's the point of like having a mouse and key like high control sensitivity when you can just play on mouse and key? But if you can't play on mouse and key, obviously, or you just, you know, want the best of both worlds, this is definitely the best one in my opinion. I mean, the best sensitivity is always going to be like 4.3, 4.4. But guess what? Those sensitivities, they have like a weird amount of they have a low amount of up and down input. They also don't let you do this. Look how fast I can swing around. And that's because I have the extra turning yaw, which you don't get on the default settings. The way to make this effective is by having the turning ramp up time. What happens is when you're fighting up close and you're hip firing and all that, I'm not warmed up, so sorry, I'm kind of ass, but when you're in a close range fight and someone moves past you, you move your stick to the max, right? To the max to track them, and what happens? You suddenly get that 250 extra turn, so you end up just like way over. You like go off here, and you lose the fight because of that. The extra 250 immediately popping in makes you go later. So if you add a delay, a ramp up time, it'll come in at like what? It'll come in at like an extra 50, and then an extra 60, and then an extra 70, until it gets to 250 from holding it. But look, when I first, you can hear my controller. When I first hit that outer input, the outer threshold where the turning comes in, it delays it, so you don't get that that 250 extra yaw all at once. So if you move past somebody, you can effectively move to them. The default settings do have that. They do have extra turn, just not that much, and there's a big delay on it. So it's like I didn't like turning around in the default settings. So yeah, this is just I think this settings, I'll show you my settings. I think this is the best way to get a good mix. You can also just like play with it yourself. This is on 0. My recoil control I feel like is a little better, but five gives you what the pros are all using and taking advantage of, that response curve. So yeah, that was kind of my experience with ALCs and how to get good ones. I used to have them like so high. Like 275 is fine. It's not too high, but you can still look around well. This is the most important thing for me. And then 130, that's kind of like what Jen Burton uses, and obviously he knows what he's doing. Although he does have like a linear because he is a freak. And then I also did that for this one. That's for Horizon. That's up and down in a 10% delay. I'll show you how that looks. Well, anyway, I hope that made sense, and yeah, have a good one.